20 years ago, my boyfriend dumped me for one of his 19-year-old students and thought he'd gotten away with it. He had no idea I was about to ruin his career, destroy his reputation, and make sure he'd never reach his dreams. And just a few weeks ago, I made sure the damage stuck. If you've ever wanted to give a cheater exactly what they deserve, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle in. Because this is a long game revenge story that spans 2 decades. And every twist is sweeter than the last. The 90s. No constant notifications. No instant location tracking. If you wanted to talk to someone, you called their landline and prayed they were home. That's when I met Jake. I was in college. He just graduated, tall, a little nerdy in a charming way, with that future professor confidence. He was 23, starting his PhD in animal sciences. I was already planning to move across the country with friends, and by coincidence, he was moving for grad school to a city just 90 minutes away from me. Felt like fate. Weekends became our ritual. I'd drive up, we'd eat cheap tacos, watch movies, and spend hours at his rented house, where he bred small animals to make some extra cash. His roommates were fellow grad students. Friendly, funny, easy to be around. And his family. I adored them. His 2 sisters, his younger brother, instantly my people. I even became friends with Mary, the wife of Jake's academic advisor. She was warm, sharp, the kind of woman who made you feel welcome with just a smile. Looking back, I realized that connection would become very important. About 2 years into the relationship, we were lying in bed. A quiet, intimate moment. The kind where you feel safe, comfortable. And then Jake shattered it. I think you've been gaining weight. And it's making it harder for me to be attracted to you. No concern for my health. No kindness. Just a flat, clinical judgment about my body. For context, I'd maybe gained 10 pounds. Still wore the same clothes. Still fit and active. My mind spun. Heat rose in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. Well, maybe have better food in the house than crackers and cheese when I visit. He didn't laugh. He just said I should try to lose weight. Nah, I replied. I'm not doing that. So what are you going to do about it? He had no answer. I let it drop, but I remember lying awake that night, staring at the ceiling, feeling off. 3 months later, the call came. I think we should break up. I asked why. His answer? You don't know enough about science. I laughed. That's ridiculous. What's the real reason? He doubled down. Said it was really about my lack of scientific knowledge. A month later, he came by to drop off something I'd left at his place. I pressed him again. And finally he cracked. He'd been sleeping with one of his undergrad students, Meg, 19 years old. That's when it hit me, the weight comments. They weren't about my looks. They were about guilt and cowardice. He didn't want to be the bad guy, so he tried to push me into dumping him. I emailed his roommates just to thank them for being good friends. They admitted they'd known about Meg. In fact, they threatened to tell me if Jake didn't. One roommate, George, invited me up for the weekend. Said we'd have fun, blow off steam. When I got there, Jake was gone. George let me in to collect my stuff, and that's when I noticed something odd. In one tank, an animal I recognized as endangered. In another, a species that was completely illegal to keep in our state. And Jake? He didn't have the proper permits. I knew this because I paid attention when he talked about his work. So, I took photos. Of everything. Tanks, cages, paperwork, or lack thereof. That night, George and I went out drinking. Came home late, loud, laughing. I stayed in his room, nothing happened, but we made sure to giggle and slam a few doors so Jake thought something did. The next morning I walked into the kitchen, hair messy, still in my dress, eating a donut slowly while Jake glared. Have fun with my leftovers, I told him, and left. The next day I called State Fish and Wildlife. Told them exactly what Jake had in that house. Sent the photos, described the conditions. They were very interested. Meanwhile, George and the other roommate filed formal complaints to the university about Jake sleeping with a student and giving her favoritism. We told the story in bars that weekend, making sure everyone in the program knew. A few weeks later, George called me, practically buzzing through the phone. They're here. Fish and Wildlife. Taking everything. Meg tried to cover for Jake, saying the animals were hers, but it didn't matter. She admitted they were in Jake's care. Here's the thing about PhD research in animal sciences. It often depends on government grants. And Jake had just received a $30,000 EPA grant. So I called the EPA, asked how to report a grantee under investigation for illegal possession of endangered species. They yanked the funding, ordered him to repay what he'd already used. He was blacklisted from ever receiving federal research money again. The university revoked his scholarship, fired him from his TA position, and stripped him from the PhD program. He left with just a master's. His carefully planned academic career? Gone. I moved on. Stayed in touch with his siblings, who eventually learned the truth about why we broke up. Built my own career, ironically, helping scientists and doctors explain their work to people outside their fields. Jake married Meg, had 2 kids, went back to small-time animal breeding. Every now and then, I'd hear from his sisters. Like the time one of them told him she didn't make a habit of befriending homewreckers in front of their parents who hadn't known how our relationship ended. A few weeks ago, I was giving a lecture at a major university. Afterward, I was mingling with students when I heard it. "Hey OP. Long time no see." I turned and there was Jake. Older. Thinner hair. Same smug look. I pretended not to recognize him. Made him explain who he was. Finally I gasped. "Oh, I guess I blocked you out." That night at dinner, the department chair mentioned they were about to hire him for a teaching position. I couldn't help it, I scoffed. Then I said, "I'm just surprised, given he left his last program after sleeping with a student and losing his scholarship." Days later, Mary called. She'd heard from a friend at the university doing Jake's background check. They pulled his old file, complete with the complaint letters, termination record, and, oh yes, his arrest for illegal animals. He's not getting that job. 20 years later, without breaking a law or telling a lie, I'd taken away the one thing he still thought he could get back. And the best part? He'll never know it was me. If someone tries to tear you down for your looks or worth, that's their flaw, not yours. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply letting the truth catch up to them, with a little help. If you love this slow burn karma story, hit that like button, subscribe for more tales of justice served, and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen?